What is up, everybody? Welcome back to Godspeed ZRZ. Now, if you've been following this channel for a while, as you know, I have the Rubicon 392. We just recently hit a milestone of 7,500 miles, and I figured today would be the perfect opportunity to give you guys a long-term review at that 7,500 mile mark. So to just get started on this thing, really and truly, I believe we're at 7,800 miles. So obviously at this point, I've had a fair chance to really go over the vehicle, get to learn the vehicle, and even let it break in, you know. So there have been quite a few things that I definitely would have changed or would have liked to know before. And then there's also a few things I didn't really expect. At least not to work the way that they do, or to change as the break-in period really goes away. But we're gonna go ahead and dive into it today. That way you guys know exactly what to expect and give you guys a long-term review of the Rubicon 392. So really and truly, it has been pretty great so far. You will see on the inside here, just to get some of the bad things out of the way. I've seen this on a couple of the other 392s as well. Whatever paint they put on up here, you can even see a piece right here. It's very flaky. It's definitely going to come off. I believe it is due in part because of the hydro guide system up here. I'm sure somewhere, it looks like right here, there's actually a pretty good mark on the hydro guide system. Maybe whenever that gets hot, it expands and it's enough to rub on the engine. Of course, this motor actually moves quite a bit whenever you're driving around. You can see these flakes as I've cleaned it off. Now I can't really get those out, but just a little wear and tear. Now another thing I want to touch on as well, and I have mentioned it on a previous video, on the 392s it comes with this little protection added to it, and it's supposed to be fit to form, and you've got it on your fenders here as well. But on the doors, I guess they obviously don't take their time putting it on, and over time, actually, whenever I got mine, the driver door was basically way worse than this one. And I just went ahead and ripped it off. But you can kind of push them back down and still use it, or you can just rip it off. But for me, a couple of them have been so bad, I just went ahead and ripped it off. Now, for the most part, the four-wheel drive system has worked really well. I have had a fair chance to use it in quite a few different trips in the snow. It performed really well. Really no need to use the lockers, or no need to really even leave it in anything more than four-wheel part-time, and it did very well. Now, I have noticed these CV joints here, the CV axles. I am hearing a little bit of a noise whenever I'm pulling out sometimes, like a little click, almost like that, almost like the CV's turning over. I'm not exactly sure what it is. I know it's in the front. It may be due to the prop shaft, you know, spinning the entire time, and that's just it getting going, but I'm not exactly sure on that. But there has been a couple little noises, you know, nothing crazy, but a couple noises just to keep an eye on. Now, for the suspension, obviously we still have factory suspension here, and this suspension has performed very well. Obviously this one is tuned for the 392 motor, but I believe it's a very similar shock setup we used on the 2.5-inch lifts from Mopar, and we put that on many Wranglers at the dealerships that I've been at previously. They always perform really well. I assume that's pretty much the same shocks that we're getting, but even with the cools they've changed here, they ride really well. The suspension's definitely settled a little bit, so it's even smoother now. I'd say about 5,000 miles, it started getting a little bit smoother as the suspension really settled. And of course, for the sound system in this one, we do have the Alpine with the factory sub. and of course the rest of the Alpine speakers. The speakers have done really well, no distortion. I do play them pretty loud, and of course louder with the doors off or with the top off, but they're still sounding really good. Probably not even going to upgrade the speakers in this one. I have in every other one I've done, but at this point I don't think it's really needed. So I haven't used the back seats much, but obviously not much back here to really mess up. I will say I haven't even taken the entire top off, but the rear is already starting to make some noises like a typical JL or JK does. So whenever you're going around curves, sometimes you'll hear a little crunch noise. It's kind of like the top just settling. I have retorqued them once, but I have not taken the entire top off yet, but they are making that noise. Now for the Hydro Guide system, I really and truly have not tested it too much off-road. At least I haven't gotten any situations where it's really needed. But for on-road, it does seem to get pretty much the coldest air. It must distribute it pretty well, of course with all the extra filters it's got and stuff. But for the Hydro Guide system, it's definitely been a bonus so far. Another thing I'll definitely mention, obviously you guys can tell the 392s come with the LED light group, so that means you get more of the projector style LED, and then you also get the halo, the daytime running lights that are LED, and the LED fog lights. Whether you're getting a Rubicon 392, a Mojave, whatever you're getting, I've seen it firsthand. You definitely want to get the LED light group for the cost if you can. If not, always an option to go ahead and put those in. It is a little bit of extra work if you do have the opportunity to just get it that way. Now for the inside, everything seems to be wearing really well, even the seats. I did have a little bit of an indentation there, obviously from where I sit, but it's kind of went back to normal, which is weird. But as for the dash, all the buttons, nothing's wearing off. I've never had any issues with any of the buttons in the Wranglers. I honestly don't keep them too long, you know, typically, but for this one I plan on keeping it for a while. But as you can see, all the buttons, everything's holding up really well on the inside. All the controls work great. The adaptive cruise control works really well in this, and even the blind spot monitors. So it's crazy to say, but even the safety features in the Jeep really do work if you choose to use them. So now we're going to go ahead and take it down the road. I'm going to show you guys some of the stuff I've noticed from inside and also from just driving the vehicle for, you know, the mileage I have. And we'll go over some of the weird things that it does, some of the weird noises it makes, and also talk about the good stuff. Maybe not necessarily suited for the price tag, but then again, it's done up pretty well. The seats have held up really well, like I previously said. The technology's worked the way that it's really supposed to, and up until this point I haven't really had any issues with any of the technology or any of the small little features they've added in. I will say, at least just with the noise that comes along with the normal Jeeps, it's not really any different in the 392s. You get the little cracks from, or not cracks, but little pops from your hardtop shifting in the back. Obviously, there's still quite a bit of wind noise, so there's really no way of getting around that. Now, the 392 definitely dilutes some of that noise that comes through because all you can really hear is the rumble. I did make the decision to straight pop mine, so it's really loud all the time. It does drone a little bit, but it doesn't really bother me too much. And with the standard exhaust, obviously you do have the option to have it in performance mode or regular, and performance mode is basically what I just left mine in the whole time until obviously I straight popped it. So it is a little bit louder than what it was at first, but it's not bad at all. Definitely still manageable. The transmission in all of the Jeeps, really and truly, since the new JL, all the transmissions have been really good, and there's no difference in the 392. We do have the beefed up transmission, of course, in the 392, so it shifts exactly the way it should, and whenever you do want to get a little rowdy, you can put it in Off-Road Plus, and obviously makes the entire experience quite a bit more aggressive. But fuel economy for me has always been something that people ask about, so I did put 35s on it. I haven't recalibrated the speedometer yet because we're just putting bigger tires on anyway. But with 35s, it's showing I'm getting 14 miles a gallon now, which is pretty impressive. Driving pretty much the same route as I always do. And at the very beginning, I was getting 10 miles a gallon. That was really just until I got past the break-in period. I'd say probably about 3,000 miles, to be honest. And then I started getting quite a bit better fuel mileage. So that is one good thing to look forward to after your break-in period with these 6.4s. So in terms of day-to-day use, it is pretty practical in the sense that it'll do just about anything you need it to do. It honestly just does everything that you need it to do a little bit better, and goes a little bit more outrageous in how it does it. But it is always fun to drive. It is a great daily. It's been my daily since I've got it, to be 100% honest. And it is a little fuel hungry, but that's to be expected with the 6.4. I previously said I got somewhere around 250 miles per tank, and I think right now I'm getting about 270 miles per tank. So doing a little bit better on fuel economy, which is always good. But beyond all that, now that we have the 6.4 broken in pretty well, we have everything else dialed in, and we know it's a pretty tough machine. I was honestly pretty sketched out at the beginning buying one of the first production models, and you know, with Jeep they have a history of producing something the first year and making tons of recalls and getting it where it needs to be, or that one's just sucking and then they scrap it and end up making a new one, like the 3.8 and the JK, and how we have the 3.6. But everything worked out really well. I am excited to see the 3.0 liter Hurricane motor. Apparently it's in the 2022 Grand Wagoneer L's, so that'll be pretty neat to see once it comes to the Jeep line. Apparently it's going to be a SRT killer, so we'll see how that goes. So in terms of practicality day-to-day use, obviously you got to fill up. I'll show you guys where we're at and how much it'll cost to fill up today. We are right under half a tank, so we're going to go ahead and top off here, and I'll show you guys what it costs to fill up. And it's quite a bit cheaper here, so 58 bucks to fill it up, a little over half a tank. So that's really decent price for gas around here. I work in Franklin, Tennessee, and it is $5 for premium, so that's pretty good for here. But as for the power, yeah, I still do that way too much, but it is a lot of fun. It does feel really, really quick, and once you get used to the way it handles, the way it drives, you can drive this thing pretty aggressively. It really takes a lot more than what you'd think. The suspension seems to be a little bit stiffer than obviously the regular Jeeps and stuff. Maybe not as stiff as what you'd think though for what these things will do. So it's pretty impressive of how it behaves on the road, and then off-road obviously. It still dominates pretty easily. But the interior is still really nice. I'm not tired of it yet. They have just enough features to keep you entertained, of course, with Apple CarPlay, Android Auto. So the features it does have are still really cool. Jeeps just obviously don't have the kind of features that are out there today, and this doesn't really leave you wanting more. And hearing that rumble really makes it all better. So my overall thoughts after about 7,500 miles are that it's doing really well. So definitely there are a few minor details on the vehicles that is messing up, and really there's nothing catastrophic. They're performing really well for it to be, you know, the first iteration of what it is. For it to have been put together as well as it has been, I'm definitely impressed so far. I know I have a lot of friends that are actually looking for one of these, so I would definitely recommend anybody to get one if they have the opportunity. The markups on these are absolutely ridiculous right now. I think in our area they're about 100 with markup on average. So if you do have an opportunity to pick one of these up for a fair price, man, you definitely have to go ahead and take advantage of it. You won't be disappointed. There's a lot of awesome features. There's a lot of new technology even on this vehicle, and the performance is just unreal. And the way the prices are looking, I expect this to be a pretty good return on what it is if you do decide to sell. Obviously, this is going to be one of the last few years you can get the 392. But as always, guys, if you haven't seen my previous videos on this thing and some of the stuff that I've done to it, go check it out. And if you haven't already, of course, please like, comment, subscribe. Let me know what you guys think. And until next time, just take it easy.